Right, listen up. You think you've seen it all in the kitchen? You think your Aunt Mildred's overcooked Sunday roast is a disaster? Well, buckle up, you Muppets, because you're about to witness food so visually offensive, it'll make a maggot-infested bin look like a Michelin-starred amuse-bouche. Today we're diving into the world of culinary nightmares, the kind of dishes that stare back at you, that wiggle, that ooze, that frankly, look like they've crawled out of a science experiment gone horribly, horribly wrong. We're talking about the top 10 ugliest foods you won't believe people actually put in their mouths. From fermented sea creatures that smell like a forgotten gym sock, to cheeses that are literally, this journey is not for the faint of heart or weak of stomach. Prepare to have your perceptions shattered and your appetite thoroughly annihilated. This is food that makes you question humanity's choices. But hey, someone's gotta eat it, right? Or at least someone's gotta talk about it. So, if you've got the guts and you're morbidly curious about what horrors lurk on plates around the globe, then you're in the right place. This is Unknown Facts, and we're about to serve up a steaming pile of, well, you'll see. If you love exploring the weird and wonderful world of food, the bizarre, the shocking, and the downright disgusting, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. Now let's get on with this freak show. Alright, first up on our menu of misery is a little something from Sweden called surströmming. This isn't your delightful, flaky salmon, oh no, this is herring, Baltic herring to be precise, that's been left to ferment for months, sometimes longer. They stuff it into a tin, and the fermentation process continues, making the can bulge like it's about to explode. The sheer audacity of this dish. Imagine opening a can, and instead of a pleasant aroma, you're hit with a stench so powerful, so putrid it's been compared to rotten eggs mixed with rancid butter and a hint of dirty diaper. People open these tins underwater for crying out loud just to contain the unholy aroma. Now let's talk about what this looks like when you finally brave the smell and pry open the pressurized can. You're greeted with a sight of gray, mushy, almost disintegrated fish swimming in a cloudy, foul-smelling brine. The skin is often still on, peeling away to reveal flesh that's anything but inviting. It's the color of despair, a pale, sickly gray that screams, "Do not eat me." Why, you ask, would anyone subject themselves to this olfactory and visual assault? Tradition, apparently, a rite of passage for some brave or foolish Swedes. Next on our parade of putrescence, we journey to Sardinia, Italy for a cheese that will make your skin crawl. Literally. It's called casu marzu, which translates to rotten cheese, and believe me, they're not bloody exaggerating. This isn't your charming cheddar or your sophisticated brie. This is a sheep's milk cheese that has been intentionally, yes, infested with live insect larvae, maggots, thousands of tiny writhing maggots. Are you hearing this? The cheesemakers take pecorino sardo, a perfectly decent cheese, and then they introduce the larvae of the cheese fly. These little blighters eat through the cheese, digest the fats, and excrete a substance that makes the cheese incredibly soft, almost liquid. So you're not just getting cheese, you're getting a maggot-processed, creamy, squirming nightmare. The top of the cheese is usually cut off like a lid, revealing a seething mass of translucent 8mm long worms. Visually, it's a horror show. Imagine a wheel of cheese, already looking a bit past its prime, and then you see it, the movement. Let's plunge into Iceland's ugly food Olympics hackarl. Greenland shark flesh is poisonous when fresh. Icelanders make it edible by rotting it. The process is a horror story. Beheaded, gutted, and buried in gravel, covered with sand and stones to press out fluids, left to ferment for weeks, festering underground, dug up, cut into strips and dried. Hung to dry for months, the result is unappetizing. Dried hackarl has a crust from brownish to white. Let's crack into something truly bizarre from China, the century egg, also known as a 100-year egg. Despite the name, they're not preserved for a century. These eggs undergo a transformation into something dark and mysterious. Preserved in clay, ash, and rice hulls, the yolk turns dark green to gray. The white transforms into a translucent amber to dark brown jelly. Visually striking, these eggs are an alchemical nightmare. Alright, prepare yourselves, because this next one is a real stomach-turner for many. We're heading to the Philippines and parts of Southeast Asia for a street food delicacy called balut. What is balut, you ask? Well, it's a fertilized bird egg, usually a duck that's been incubated for a period of 14 to 21 days, then boiled or steamed and eaten directly from the shell. Yes, you heard that right, a partially developed bird embryo. Feathers, bones, the whole shebang. Imagine cracking open what looks like a regular hard-boiled egg, but instead of a firm white and a yellow yolk, you find a small, partially formed duckling. You can often distinguish the tiny beak, the developing wings, and even the delicate bones. It's all there, suspended in a murky broth that you're supposed to sip first. It's like looking at a science project that someone decided was lunch. The visual is undeniably confronting, a stark reminder of what you're about to consume. The components of balut are distinct and, for the uninitiated, quite alarming. First, there's the broth, the amniotic fluid of the egg, which you sip. Right, next up we're going to Japan for a delicacy that will literally stare you down: tuna eyeballs. Yes, you heard me correctly, not the delicious meaty part of the tuna, but the massive, ghoulish eyeballs. These aren't some tiny, insignificant peepers. Tuna are large fish, and their eyes are correspondingly huge, often the size of a bloody tennis ball. Imagine that staring up at you from your plate. It's the stuff of nightmares. These colossal orbs are readily available in Japanese supermarkets and izakayas, often sold cheaply as a byproduct of tuna processing. They're usually cooked, boiled, or steamed and seasoned with soy sauce, mirin, or sake and ginger to mask some of the fishiness. But no amount of seasoning can disguise the fact that you're about to eat a giant, disembodied eye. It's like something a sea monster would leave behind after a particularly messy meal. Visually, they are undeniably grotesque. You're faced with a large, gelatinous sphere, often with the dark pupil still intact, looking like it's judging your life choices. The outer layer is tough and muscular, the stuff that helps the tuna see in the deep ocean. Chapter 7. Shiokara, Japan's visceral vomit inducer. Oh, here we go again, back to Japan for another assault on our senses. This time it's a dish called shiokara. And if the name sounds a bit like shock and horror, well, you're not far off. This isn't a pretty delicate sushi roll. Shiokara is a fermented concoction made from various marine animals, but the most common version uses squid. And it's not just the nice clean squid rings. Oh no, this uses the viscera, the guts, the innards, mixed with about 10% salt and 30% malted rice, then left to ferment in a sealed container for up to a month. The result is a slimy, viscous, brownish-gray slop that looks like something you'd find in a blocked drain. It's chunky, it's gooey, and it has a smell that can only be described as intensely fishy, salty, and pungent, with a strong umami kick that some find addictive and others find utterly repulsive. Imagine the smell of the sea, concentrated 1,000 times, then left to go slightly off. That's shiokara for you. It's a visual and olfactory challenge, to say the least. Chapter 8. Escamoles, Mexico's ant larvae caviar. That looks like cottage cheese from hell. Right, let's buzz over to Mexico for our next contestant in this freak show of foods, escamoles. Now this one might not look immediately terrifying like a giant eyeball or a developing duck, but its description and subtle ugliness will get under your skin. Escamoles are the edible larvae and pupae of Leomatopa ants, harvested from the roots of agave plants. Yes, ant babies, often referred to as insect caviar, but let's be honest, it looks more like a pile of weird, lumpy grains. Imagine digging around the roots of a tequila plant and finding these clusters of tiny, pale, rice grain-sized eggs. That's your dinner. They have a soft poppy texture apparently and a slightly nutty, buttery flavor, often compared to pine nuts or corn. But before you get to the taste, you have to get past the look. It's a mound of off-white, slightly translucent ant larvae looking like a bizarre, granular substance that doesn't quite resemble anything you'd normally associate with food. Visually, escamoles are often compared to cottage cheese or risotto, but with an unsettling, insectoid undertone. Chapter 9. Drunken Shrimp, China's Wiggling Squirming Nightmare. Alright, hold on to your chopsticks because we're heading back to China for a dish that's not just ugly, it's actively, disturbingly alive when it hits your plate. I'm talking about drunken shrimp. The concept is simple, yet horrifying. Live freshwater shrimp are stunned in a strong liquor like baijiu, and then eaten while they are still twitching and squirming. Yes, you read that correctly. Eaten alive. Imagine a bowl placed in front of you, filled with translucent, wriggling shrimp, desperately trying to escape their alcoholic bath. They jump, they flick their tails, they are visibly, undeniably alive. This isn't just food, it's a tiny, aquatic horror show playing out on your dinner table. The drunken part comes from the alcohol, which supposedly makes them less lively and easier to eat and also marinades them. But let's be clear, they are often still very much kicking. Visually, it's a chaotic scene. Chapter 10. Kiviak, Greenland's Fermented Feathered Foulness. And for our grand finale of grotesquerie, we travel to the frozen lands of Greenland for a dish that truly redefines extreme cuisine. It's called kiviak, and it makes surströmming look like a pleasant picnic snack. This isn't just fermented fish, this is hundreds of small seabirds, specifically auks, fermented inside a sealskin. Yes, you heard that right. Whole birds, feathers and all, stuffed into a seal carcass. It's a culinary abomination of epic proportions. The preparation is the stuff of nightmares. A freshly killed seal has its blubber and most of its meat removed, leaving the skin largely intact. Then as many as 300 to 500 little auks are packed inside the seal skin. Beaks, feet, feathers, everything. The skin is then sewn up, sealed with grease to make it airtight, and a large rock is placed on top to press out the air and excess fluids. This delightful package is then buried under a pile of stones and left to ferment for 3 to 18 months. Outro. You survived the culinary carnage. Well, there you have it, you brave souls. 10 of the ugliest foods on the planet. From fermented fish to maggot cheese and balut, we've truly scraped the bottom of the culinary barrel. I hope you had a strong stomach. Some of those were absolutely rank. It just goes to show one person's delicacy is another's nightmare. Culture and necessity drive us to eat unbelievable things. While I wouldn't touch most of these, it's fascinating in a horrifying way. The diversity of food is incredible. Makes you appreciate a simple cheese sandwich, eh? Or maybe try one of these, if you're feeling brave. Thanks for watching Unknown Facts. Hope you're not too scarred. Like, comment, and subscribe for more adventures. Let us know the ugliest dish in the comments. See you next time and maybe stick to something more appetizing. Cheers!